For many of us, the notion of resilience is for some reason associated with either rudeness or toughness. Hello and welcome back. My name is Valentina, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how to become more resilient in your day-to-day life, how to actually have the balls, as they say it. In this video, I'm going to cover a couple of things that I learned. Hopefully you can take some notes from it, how I became a resilient person and how you can become that resilient person. So let's get right into it. So I made it a point to find out in a dictionary what the word resilient actually means. And I found out that it means a person who can get back on their feet fast after a traumatic experience. Basically, someone who can recover quickly. So the main question is, do you want to become resilient? How to do it? What steps to follow? In this video, I'm going to cover a couple of them. Hopefully you can take some notes and take advantage of it. Number one thing is when you are trying to teach yourself how to become a more resilient person, you need to know that it's scientifically proven. This is not a trait. This is not a character trait that gets passed on through our DNA. So if your parents were tough and you think, oh, my parents were tough, I'm gonna be like a tough person, a resilient person. That's not true. It's a trait that you actually build up. Like any kind of habit needs to be built up. This is the exact same thing that happens with becoming a tougher person in life. You need to actually, go through a couple of experiences or learn how to react to those experiences. Basically, it's practice. Another thing that it's very important for a resilient person, personally, besides me, I consider myself being a pretty resilient person. I grew up being surrounded by people who are extremely resilient. And number one thing that I noticed and I incorporated in my life for sure is they're not letting the emotions get the best of them. So they are very non-reactive to certain situations. Like whatever I used to flip at and whatever used to bother me or whatever I used to think that it's a major thing in my life, I always let the emotions take the best of me, unfortunately. But now I'm really training myself. Again, it's a habit. And I learned that in order to be a resilient person, you need to actually be in control of your emotions. So you need to not react every time at every little thing. And I noticed that besides me doing what triggers me journaling, I added a couple of pages in that journal and I'm writing down every time I don't snap at someone, every time I don't get upset with something. And I actually make a note about it. And at the end of the week, if I get a chance, or at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, whenever I get a chance to go through my diary, I always see, that day I could have snapped at my son because he leaves bottles in the car when he uses it, or at my daughter because she didn't do the dishes. Every time I didn't snap, I was actually proud of myself, and it made me feel that much more balanced, because at the end of the day, these are minor things that can always be adjusted, and you can always go over with your children again or whoever you're living with. Make sure before you react, always analyze 2-3 seconds. I learned that this trick really did help me, and if you are trying to build some character, then this is another thing that you really should do, is do not let the emotions take the best of you. One more thing that is very important is you have to analyze what actually triggers you. So that's where the journaling comes in handy, and I mentioned in one of my videos, journaling about what triggers you. This is very useful. So when you know what exactly triggers you, you're just gonna avoid those particular situations before you realize what exactly triggers it. So I'm not saying avoid everything because this triggers me and this triggers me, but if you can avoid until you analyze it, until you get to the bottom of it and understand what exactly triggers you, maybe you should be, selfish to some degree and take a step back and avoid certain people, certain situations. I don't think that there is something wrong in particularly if a person takes their own personal space and they're trying to analyze their life. I think this is a great thing to do. So if you want to build character, going back again, and if you want to become a resilient person, you really need to understand what exactly triggers you and write it down. Like, for example, I'm very triggered by the fact when someone is late. Being on time generally in my family was a huge thing. My father, he's extremely punctual. Nothing can shake this man. Whatever he needs to be, he's always at least 15 minutes earlier, and he's very adamant to treat people the same way. For me, when someone is late for any reason, it doesn't matter. It might be a good reason, a valid reason, but I'm very much triggered by it because at some point I was waiting constantly on someone. So For me, I'm being very straight up and honest. That's another thing that a tough person would do. Be very open and honest about what triggers you if it involves people, if it involves friends, if it involves your children, if it involves your parents. Be very much open and tell them exactly what triggers you. Maybe they didn't know that they're upsetting you. Maybe it wasn't intentional. It's always good to be out in the open about your emotions, in particularly about what triggers you. But again, you cannot always control everything in all of the situations. So in those cases that you cannot change anything, you cannot make an adjustment, then you should learn how to accept the situation for what it is. Not trying to make it better, not trying to make it worse, not analyzing it. Just leave it the way it is. Because certain people already are so set in their ways that there is nothing you're gonna tell them or you're gonna convert to them that is going to change their behavior unless it's something extremely bad. So we should really embrace each other the way we are with all our faults, pluses and minuses. So if it's not a big trigger for you and if it's not something that really gets on your nerves, let's put it that way, then you should really learn to accept people for what they are, for who they are, and in any shape and form and how they come in your life. Because at the end of the day, by being acceptive of others, you are becoming much more tough in life because very few things can touch you at this point. Meditation, yes, people who are in control of their life, they meditate. I meditate, and I'm sure you meditate. And if you don't, why don't you? Everyone, I think, should really learn how to be with themselves. The whole meditation, I find that it's built around the inclination to make people actually spend time with themselves, because we are so much distracted by everything that goes around that we rarely give ourselves 10-15 minutes. At least I know that if I have a 15-minute gap, I'm thinking, oh my God, what project I can do, what email I can send. So in order for me to slow down on that and for you to slow down on that, you should really concentrate on, if you have those 15 minutes gaps in your day, spend them with yourself. Spend them meditating, spend being just present. A big thing that I learned to accept and to not be bothered by, and I'm sure you should do that too, is accept constructive criticism and ask for constructive criticism. It's extremely important to understand how other people see you besides the way you see yourself. It's like looking in the mirror. You know, there's apparently a notion that we are 30% more attractive to people than we actually see ourselves in the mirror. So I'm sure whatever seems a bad thing for you probably is not that bad from the outside. So always ask for opinion from people that matter. You know that they are actually knowledgeable about the topic, that they are smart enough, that they are advanced enough to actually be able to take their advice. And I do quite seldom, I do take advice from people, especially when it comes to my parents or people who actually went to some degree through life. So don't be afraid to be criticized. Maybe explain to some degree how people see you from the outside or how people see a certain situation that you are caught in from the outside. So by becoming open to accepting any kind of feedback, you are going to be that much more resilient, obviously, because whatever feedback you are going to get is not going to affect your actual self-worth and what you think about yourself. It's just another opinion, which is always good to have. Another trait of a resilient person is being a realist. It's basically not being in denial about the reality of things. You should just see the truth for yourself and you shouldn't wear those pink glasses. No, everything is pretty much black and white. There are a couple of gray areas, but generally you know what is wrong in your life and you know how to become a more resilient person. You just need to be much more open with yourself and clearer with yourself and see the reality of things and not put everything into perspective. What if? No, it is what it is. Whether it's your financial situation, whether it's your relationship with your children, whether it's your relationship with your partner, the faster you are open about the actual reality of situation, the faster you can rectify it, you can change it, you can make a switch. I would rather have negative results than live in la la land. I would rather know the reality of things and go through hardships and experience all that life throws at me than stay in denial and have those pink glasses and think that everything is going out great when in reality, things are not as good. So I always choose reality, and you should too. Laugh at a particular situation. Truly laugh, because certain things are out of your control and you cannot do anything to change it. So if you feel the tension, then release it by laughing. If you are able to make a joke about the situation and laugh it out with your friends, then you are 100% a resilient person. A resilient person is always a person who is in a state of growth, so you should always train yourself to be better, and this is a habit. This is something that you can get better at. It's like training a muscle. I really do hope that you took a couple of notes from this video, and do comment down below what situations made you a resilient person and how did you came out of it. What tactics did you use? I'm gonna have to make a video on that too. If you like this video, then watch this one. I'm talking about self-love 101 for those who don't know how to do it.